Hi, I'm Tom. This is Lucy, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So today I want to talk to you about a serious subject, and that is pain detection in cats. I've recently had a bit of an experience with Miss Lucy here, and what happened with her is over time I started noticing that she had stopped sitting. By that, what I mean is that she had really stopped sitting down on her bottom, which is very nicely pointed at the camera. Here, Lucy, how about let's turn around so everybody can see your face. She had just stopped sitting down entirely. Instead, what she would do is she would sort of flop down over on her side. She would kind of start to sit and then she would flop over and just lay down. And I didn't notice it at first, but over time, it became more and more apparent that this was what was happening. And, you know, she has some clicker training cues that involve sitting, and she suddenly just stopped sitting during those. That's when I really started taking note that she just wouldn't do it even on cue for a treat. And so when that occurred, I started taking it more seriously, and I started trying to figure out were there certain circumstances or times of day when she wouldn't sit down. But then I started noticing she just really was never sitting down. And now she is, you see, she just kind of crouched there. That's because we talked to the vet and we've got her on some medication for what I think is probably hip dysplasia. She's so young. I mean, cats, about 60% of cats at the age of 6 have clinical signs of osteoarthritis, but this would be significant pain in order to stop her from sitting. And so I think she, you know, I started watching old videos of her and watching how she would walk and things like that, and noticed how her gait changed slightly over time and how she would swing her left leg out when she was walking. This leg would sort of swing out instead of bending. Yeah, see, you can sit down now just fine because you're on some good medicine, right? But this was a kind of a bit of a shock because it had been building for some time. As I watched old videos of her, I started noticing there were certainly moments where she was more reluctant to sit like she is now. And I really didn't take immediate note of it. And I really pay a lot of attention to cats, okay? And if it's easy for me to overlook, it's easy for anyone to overlook. So I wanted to talk to you about noticing some of these signs as a way to try and help your cat overcome these kinds of symptoms. Because what can happen is if a cat has trouble getting into the litter box, for example, or even crouching there the way they happen to want to crouch to urinate or defecate, if they feel pain during that act, they may start to associate that pain with the litter box. And then they're going to start looking for other places to go. And those are probably not going to be pleasant experiences for anyone. Not even for the cat, to be honest with you, but they don't know what else to do because they're just trying to figure out how to cope with this pain that they're enduring. And so the difficulty that we have is that cats really don't want to show us that they're in pain. They don't react to it in an emotional way, the way that most of us as humans will react to pain very emotionally. Cats don't so much. It is in their nature to try and just live with it, to try not to show any signs of it so that competing cats or predators won't pick them out for as prey. And so when a cat feels pain, even a very astute veterinarian may overlook the source of that pain. They are so adept at hiding it that there are times when almost no one can detect it. And in many cases, X-rays and some other tests, they aren't always great ways to, really concretely identify a source of pain. Occasionally, yes, but it's not always going to be productive. So the number one tool that you have at your disposal is your own observation. It's very important to note when a cat is behaving differently. And by differently, I mean virtually any change. Lucy, when I looked back on it, I realized the first place she stopped sitting down was at her food bowl. And normally she would sit and eat her food every single day. And I started going back through, I shoot videos of them all the time. And I went back through the videos and noticed, hey, she's mostly standing in a lot of these. And she was feeling some degree of pain. So instead of complaining about it or reacting boisterously to it, she was just doing what she could physically to avoid feeling it. So she would just stand. And I noticed that another behavior that she had that started to occur towards the end, right before we saw the vet, was when she would leap up onto something, she would hesitate just before she leapt. In the past, she would be like, oh, I want to go up there, and she would just jump up there. But then she started doing this thing where she would sort of look at it and then kind of size it up and kind of sit there for a minute and think about it and then kind of jump up there. And occasionally, one of her rear legs wouldn't quite make it up onto the platform. As I started noticing more and more of these things, I started really putting it together and realized that she was in some degree of pain. I still didn't know how much. And you'll never know, really, because they can't tell us, and they don't want us really to know, because that's how they're built. That's what their instincts are telling them. So really the only way in many cases that you can really know is by trying a course of medication that is targeted towards what you think may be the source of pain, and then seeing how the cat reacts. Miss Lucy has been on this medication that she's on now. She's been on it for a little less than 30 days. She's had one dose. And within about a week, I saw her beginning to sit down again. And now, as you can see, she sat here on the table. She's lounging here. She's wagging her tail because she's a little annoyed because I have a treat in my hand and I haven't given it to her. She wants her payment. But I wanted to keep her up here so you could observe her while we talk about this. Yes, that's right. It'll be okay. All right. But I wouldn't have known anything unless we had tried the medication, for sure. And seeing her reaction, her response to that treatment being a positive response, I'm going to continue the medication, at least for the time being. If I ever want to know if that problem was a temporary one, I could in the future take her off the medication with the advice of her veterinarian, of course, but take her off of it temporarily to see if the symptoms start to come back. And if they do, put her right back on the medication. But in many cases, that's the only way to really detect whether that pain is treatable or not, unless there is a significant physical malady that's evident that can be detected in a physical exam. There are cases like that, things where cats who have like a case of dyschezia, which is where they have a lot of pain when they are defecating. That can often be detected. Urinary tract infections may be painful. That can be detected. Things like that have other aspects to them other than just, say, muscular, skeletal pain or things like that. And then some of those things can be detected via x-ray, but a lot of them can't. So the best way to approach those things, in my opinion, is with your veterinarian, try treatments. But honestly, pay attention. Pay close attention to behaviors, to notice whether they're jumping higher, lower than before, or if they're, not running so much. If there was a case in the past where you would shake the treat bag and they would come running, but now instead they kind of hobble up to you, or like their movement of their hind quarter kind of moves around a little bit more than it used to, where they're sort of compensating by sort of lifting a limb by raising a hip. All those kinds of things are really important things to notice. And honestly, when we live with them every single day, it's very difficult to notice them. So now I'm going to start videoing Lucy once a month, where I just video a play session, not to share with anyone, but to keep a record of the way she moves and the way she plays, so that I can have something to go back to just in case I need to check and see, hey, is this something new, or is this something that has always kind of been there that's just in the way she moves, you know? So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.